Well, good afternoon, social workers, and welcome. I am thrilled to have you all here today to help us at NASW Minnesota celebrate Social Work Month. So happy Social Work Month to all of you. If no one has said it to you yet, this is your month, folks. We need to celebrate who we are, what we do as social workers every day in this awesome world we're in. My name is Karen Goodenough. I'm Executive Director of NASW Minnesota, and it is so great to always be in the presence of social workers in Minnesota. Our theme this year is Social Work Breaks Barriers. And during Social Work Month, NASW, both nationally and at the state level, will spearhead efforts to raise public awareness about social workers and how we continue to break barriers in all communities and how the profession can and our contributions of our profession improve our nation. So today, during our little lunch and learn time here, we are going to talk about the theme a little bit. We'll highlight some of the things that NASW is doing to break barriers and see what examples you can share about how social workers, including you, are breaking barriers in Minnesota right now. So I'm giving you that forewarning that I'm going to ask you for some ideas later on. So if you want to be thinking a little bit about what this barrier breaking work might look like for you or other social workers that you know around you, that would be great for you to be ready to chime in later. But in today's session, we will be specifically highlighting several social workers and social work allies in Minnesota who are breaking barriers and celebrating their contributions, particularly of 5 awesome social workers who will receive awards from us today. Before we dive in, I want to introduce you all to our NASW Minnesota Board Chair, Angelo Flowers, who's going to share a little welcome and some introductory remarks as well. Angelo.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today to celebrate Social Work Month. Social work is an essential profession to the advancement of our nation, and I want to thank you all for the impactful, tireless, and sometimes thankless work that you do on a daily basis to break barriers. And so please continue to advocate for social policy reform, empower and uplift marginalized voices, and fight against injustices in disenfranchised communities. So you are the change. So go out there and continue to be that change.
I love that. That's our Angelo, folks, leading the charge here at NASW Minnesota. With that, I want to just share with everyone, as is true in most years, but once again in 2023, Governor Walz has proclaimed March to be Social Work Month in Minnesota. And so on your screen, you see a copy of the proclamation that I have in my hands right here, where our governor has talked about social workers displaying a desire to help individuals and families and communities overcome obstacles that prevent them from reaching their full potential. And talks about how we are one of the fastest growing careers in the United States, with over 708,000 of us and more than 60,000 expected to enter our profession in the next decade, and about the millions of people's lives that we're impacting in so many different ways, and just all sorts of beautiful things. So we'll put a copy of this up on our website also as we do, and just want to share with you all that our governor and our lieutenant governor as well, who joined us for the kickoff of Advocacy Week last week, they are huge proponents of social work and supporters of our work in our communities in Minnesota. So we appreciate them so much as well, and always just love that shout out that they give us for Social Work Month. And I also want to just chime in that thanks for folks in the chat who say, remind us that it's also International Women's Day. So many of us have lots of things to celebrate on this day. You know, as we think about breaking barriers, every day we know that social workers are doing all sorts of things, innovative, beautiful sorts of things that help millions of Americans in their daily lives to live their best lives. We also know that we're working in policy and in communities and trying to change the living conditions for everyone. And that is our big work that we're all doing, whether it's in our day jobs, in our side gigs, in our off work time as well. And during Social Work Month, I urge you to educate yourselves and re-educate yourselves about the profession. Listen to the folks who are winning awards today and the ideas that people chime in, and be thinking about, like, what are those creative ways that people are doing barrier breaking work in our profession that maybe you haven't thought about for a while, some stories that you could lift up to others, and think about thanking those folks, all of the social workers in your life, how do you thank those folks? How do you take a moment during Social Work Month to thank the social workers that you're connected with for all that they do? And what can you do to help support the profession also? So we're going to talk a little bit about that today as well. But I think about, as we think about lifting one another up, we also need to think about lifting up our profession. When we talk about wanting to get paid what we're worth, to have the benefit of the world knowing what social workers do and the barrier breaking work that we do every day, how do we lift that up in a way that those in our society realize it, that they know what that contribution is, and that we recognize it in all the ways that we deserve to be recognized? So think about that as we go through today as well. To dive into our celebration today, I want to start with our Social Workers of the Year 2023. And just a note that there are multiple, as it says, Social Workers of the Year. We decided at the chapter that there were 3 such folks that absolutely deserve to receive a Social Worker of the Year award from us this year. And so we're giving 3 awards, and we reserve the right to do whatever we want to do for our chapter awards. Our social workers of the year are individuals who exemplify the best of the profession's values and achievements through very specific accomplishments. These folks have demonstrated outstanding leadership and have broken barriers that prevent people and communities from thriving. So I want to turn to our first social worker of the year, and these are in alphabetical order. And our first award I am giving myself, and thrilled to do so today, to our own Mary Carlson. Mary Carlson has been a leader in social work and social work education for over 34 years. She's worked in healthcare social work for 28 years, in hospital, nursing home, hospice, and home care settings. Her professional experience includes helping to develop Clinic 42, an HIV infectious disease clinic in Minneapolis, where she worked with people with HIV, their partners, and family members. Throughout her career, she has passionately partnered with local community organizations such as Northfield Hospice, Healthy Community Initiative, Hope Center, and the Northfield Community Action Center. Mary has held office on the boards of the Northfield Community Action Center, the League of Women Voters, the Minnesota Conference on Social Work Education. And throughout her 34 years as a professor, mentor, and leader at St. Olaf College, she has inspired and guided and supported countless students in their studies as they learned about becoming ethical, prepared, impactful, and passionate social workers. And I am one of them, and thrilled to be an OLE. She continues to be in contact with so many of her former students as a supportive mentor and consultant and colleague, and is a fantastic community member in our social work community in Minnesota. At St. Olaf, she has held many leadership roles, including director of the BSW program, field coordinator, departmental chair. And recently, Mary served as the director of a project To Include is to Excel, which was awarded to St. Olaf as a 4-year, $800,000 grant from the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation to improve and enhance teaching and curriculum to serve a changing student body with commitment to inclusion. Mary Carlson, I am so thrilled to give you a 2023 Social Worker of the Year award. Mary, welcome. Thanks for being with us today. And folks, we did invite each of our awardees to share just a minute or two on some remarks, that whatever they want to say today to all of us social workers in Minnesota. So Mary, with that, I want to turn it over to you.
Well, a minute or two, good luck. I'm a professor. Thank you so much. I was shocked when Angelo called me. I think of him as Mr. Board Chair, Mr. Colleague here at St. Olaf, and I thought he was just talking about a teaching question. So I was just delighted, very thrilled and humbled to get this award. Thank you so much. I have a list of hundreds of people to thank, but I'm not going to do that. But let me thank my parents for introducing me to being a pastor and a nurse, and another relative was a probation officer. No social workers, but somehow in 9th grade, I wrote my career paper on social work, and the rest is history. I want to thank my family, some of whom are on the call here, for respecting always my choice to be a social worker. I think my mentor and generalist social worker turned educator, role model, and dear friend, Noreen Lennox, is on the call. I want to thank Susan Cochran, Terry Hammonk, people from Mount Sinai Hospital who still get together quarterly. And then a lot of my social work practitioner peers in Seattle and Minneapolis who taught me about intelligent and integritous social work, My students and alums know that integritas will be a word before I die. I love that word. To all the patients and students who've been patient and gracious with me as I learn and made mistakes, and you all on the call who are social work colleagues in education, support through the years has meant a lot. And then particularly to my students, turned peers, turned colleagues, among them Jenny Arneson, our NASW lobbyist, Dr. KG, and Sarah Bush, all of whom are leaders in NASW Minnesota and graduates of our program. So proud of you. All of you have come to mind when I read excerpts to the senior seminar every year in social work from one of my favorite poems by Marge Piercy called To Be of Use. Allow me to just have a couple excerpts, and if you want to close your eyes and listen, please do. I love people who harness themselves an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again. The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing well done has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that hold corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry and a person for work that is real. Social work is real, folks, isn't it? I can think of no profession that could have served me better through my career, and I'm glad to have served it as well. So thank you again for this honor.
I love that little silent round of applause that you got there, Mary. There's many, many people sending you some love in the chat. Lots of folks that came here to see Mary just receive this award today. And I think it is a little bit anticlimactic to do these things virtually, but it's also cool that we can have people from all over the state and some joining us from across the country just to be here to celebrate the great work that each of you does. So Mary, thank you so much for being such an awesome force in the social work profession. Next up, we are going to celebrate another social worker of the year, and Angelo Flowers will give this award.
Hello again. So it is with extreme pleasure and honor, a privilege for me to introduce the next recipient. Melissa Rocco-Para is an experienced macro-level social worker that takes passion in finding sustainable solutions. Driven by her desire to be curious about the world and others, propels her to take pride in understanding situations before taking action. In her career, she has worked a range of duties, including direct services for youth, disabled adults and older adults, families who experience domestic violence in El Salvador, policy specialists for programs specific to older adults, so AC, elder waivers, and ECS. And most recently, stepping into the role of planning coordinator for the Minnesota Board on Aging. All of these roles have helped shape who she is in her career today and continues to drive her passion. Outside of work, Melissa spends time with her husband, 2 lively daughters, and tolerant puppy named Ellie, usually finding time to do pretty much anything outdoors. So please give a round of applause for Melissa. Yay.
Hey everyone, I hope you can hear me okay. First of all, just thank you so much. Mary, I'm going to echo what you said, and that I was shocked when I got that call from Angelo for this nomination. So I am just so incredibly grateful to be nominated and then accepting the award, being the recipient of it. So thank you very much. I think in part of it, you know, as a macro level social worker, it feels like the hidden profession at times. And secondly, I just feel like I was shocked because I know there's so many amazing social workers out there, especially in the times that we've had over the past few years. So just thanks to all of you. Also, as we choose to show up every day and we give our all to advance inequities, treat people with dignity and respect, and really just try to foster hope in a system that at times feels pretty fragmented. Of course, I'm truly grateful for all the opportunities and people that I've met along my journey. And with that, I am going to end with a quote that I like to tell my kids by Roy T. Bennett. Believe in yourself. You are braver than you think, more talented than you know, and capable of more than you imagine. So again, thank you very much. I'm so very grateful to be here today in honor of this award. Thank you.
Love that. Another silent round of applause for you, Melissa. Thank you so much for those words and for all that you do. And just a note to everyone in the audience that these awards were nominated by all sorts of people, and we do not share who the nominators were, but our executive committee reviews all of the award nominations and makes the award decisions. But it is folks, friends, colleagues, folks, you know, in the community, in our social work community, who have lifted up each of these folks. So with that, thank you again, Melissa, for all that you do in our profession as well. Our next awardee I will be giving here, and I want to give our third Social Worker of the Year award to Erica Staub-Absher. Erica, let me see if I can find you here so I can give you a little pin and bring you to the top here. There you are. Erica, as the executive director of the nonprofit organization Hope Center, Erica has worked tirelessly over the last year to ensure that anyone facing a crisis connected to sexual and domestic violence has had a safe place to land. Erica has worked countless overtime hours, often into the wee hours of the morning, to keep her nonprofit afloat in the aftermath of the pandemic, when staffing was short, burnout among crisis care providers was real, and budgets were small, and all while the need was ever growing. Her nominator watched as Erica has navigated her role on the micro, meso, and macro levels of social work practice. She stepped in to provide direct care to mothers who were fleeing their homes out of fear for their lives. She found resources and wraparound services for individuals who came to her when they were afraid and had nowhere else to go. And she provided trauma-responsive care and emotional support by sitting side by side, holding hands, and listening to hundreds, if not thousands, of women in the last year. That is some beautiful leadership, folks. Erica has built connections with community partners, including but not limited to food shelves, counties, law enforcement, schools, local churches, and housing providers. She offered training on domestic violence and trauma while building bridges to create more collaborative and comprehensive supports for those she serves. This has helped to create a full community in which there is no wrong door for anyone experiencing sexual or domestic violence. She took on interns to educate our future social workers in doing the hard work, provided case consultation and professional testimony to advocate for countless women who were victims of domestic violence, and has worked at the national level, championing social justice issues to change the laws that protect perpetrators and leave survivors even more vulnerable. With that, Erica, I cannot thank you enough for all that you do and congratulate you on being one of our social workers of the year. Do you want to say a few words for us all, Erica?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And it's so exciting to be next to Mary in particular, because she is one of the reasons that I love social work and am able to continue. So I fell in love with social work sitting in Dr. Rogers' Social Work 101 class as soon as I read the social work values and ethics, and I thought, this is something I can do, and this is where I belong. I remember coming home on break and talking to my brother, trying to help him with a problem, and he looked at me and he's like, can you just stop being a social worker for a minute? And I realized two things: that I had broken the cardinal rule of social work, don't work on your family, but secondly, I realized that I couldn't. The values and the ways of looking at the world, the perspective that social work has given me, was woven deeply into who I am, how I look at the world, and the way that I approach everything. Over the years, I've been privileged to be in so many sacred moments of shared vulnerability, conversations that begin with, I've never told this to anyone before, shared rage at systems that need to be changed, and celebration of time after time when the human spirit triumphs yet again. After 27 years of this, I'm still learning, still in awe of the richness of this work, of the mystery of human beings, and have fallen in love with creating systems change, slow as it is, and living in the messy middle that we all do as social workers. The one thing I wasn't prepared for in being a social worker was the fact that I'm surrounded by amazing people who spend their whole lives pouring their whole selves into trying to make this place a little better, a little kinder, and a whole lot more just and equitable. I'm forever grateful for the friends that I've made, many who are on this call right now, for the ways in which this profession has opened up doors for me, helped me to be a better person, and has given me the chance to make a difference. When Angela called me, my very first thought was of all the other people who are so deserving of this award in my life, who show up every day making a difference. So many people who are living out the values of social work, creating change, believing in their clients, walking alongside people in the midst of difficult times, and showing up time and time again. Thank you to the Minnesota chapter, to my parents who have walked alongside me, supporting me and cheering me on, to my partner who continues to step in to care for our family when work calls, or home late yet again, and to my friends and colleagues who have become my chosen family, whose kindness, compassion, and love keep me going. So thank you.
Thank you, Erica, for those beautiful words. I think you lift up something that is so important, and that is how beautiful it is when we lift each other up. And each of you said, like, wow, me? Really? Like, and I love making our award calls. I think that's so fun. And I'm so glad Angelo got to do that this year. And I just encourage every one of you who's listening today to be already thinking about who are those folks that you want to lift up next year. We should be giving lots of these awards, folks, and we do not get nearly enough nominations. Nominating someone's very easy. And so we would encourage you to start thinking early about who is it you want to lift up for an award next year, and people like Erica will be thrilled to receive such an award. So thanks again, Erica, for your beautiful comments also, and for your work. And with that, I want to turn this over to Angela Flowers, who is going to give our 2 Student of the Year awards. Angela, do you want to tell people a little bit about why our students get the awards before I show them our first awardee?
Absolutely. So our Student of the Year awards are individuals who have demonstrated outstanding academic achievement in an accredited either bachelor's of social work program or a master's of social work program. And they have the potential to continue as a leader in the social work profession. So that's who we who were nominated and awarded. All right, so our BSW Student of the Year is Angela Thompson. Angela embodies all we hope to acknowledge in the criteria for this award. She is dedicated to advancing the social work profession. Angela is a constant inspiration to those around her, in the classroom and in her community. She served as the NASW Advocacy Week representative, in addition to her full-time job, her senior internship, her course load, her family responsibilities, and she's also a school board member. And while many students will talk about anti-racist policies and practices or establishing inclusive environments, Angela is actively engaged in creating those spaces through her actions. In reflecting upon her role as a school board member, Angela wrote, quote, "It is in this work over the last 2 years that I have come to see the disparities amongst our students of the BIPOC communities, as well as our students of the LGBTQIA+ communities. I have worked on teams of educators, community members, and students to create an equity plan in the district, working with the Minnesota Equity Alliance to ensure that this work is not merely a way to save face, but is intentional in the work and the outcomes it is required to provide to our marginalized student populations," end quote. In addition to all of Angela's active community involvement, she has also been an excellent student with a GPA of nearly 4.0 throughout her college career. She is currently serving as a social work intern within the Central High School, one of the largest, most racially and economically diverse school districts in the Twin Cities. In her short time there, Angela has become indispensable to her services, to the services provided to the student body, and is truly valued by both the students and staff at the school. Please give a round of applause for Angela Thompson.
And I just want to add that Angela is a student at St. Kate's, is my understanding also. Is that right?
That is true and accurate.
Awesome. Love it. Angela, do you want to share a few words with our attendees here?
Okay, sorry, I'm at Central. I had to wait for the bell to stop ringing.
Oh, love it.
Well, yeah, I agree with the other ladies who spoke already that, my first instinct was like, there's so many other students who I feel are very much deserving of this award. So I was very honored to receive it. And I didn't really think of anything to say today, but my husband is on the call, and I just want to say thank you to him for all his support these last 4 years while I've been going to school and being on a school board. I actually started my school board. I was sworn in on January of 2020. So it's been quite a ride, but one that I have been very proud to be a part of. We have done a lot of great things in the district that I work in to help our students. And then just, being in Central High School has really, on the school board role, it's a little bit different than actually being in the school every day and working with students and staff. It's a different aspect of it. And so just thinking of things of breaking barriers, one of my big passions is there's a lot of youth that are homeless in our state. And it's really, to me, just mind-boggling that we allow that to happen. So working to change those things is very important to me, especially since I've been in this role here. Affordable housing is something that we're very lacking of in our state and probably in most states in the country. So that's a big issue of mine, something that I'm very passionate about. And then I would just like to thank my professors. I believe a couple of them are on the call, and they are just amazing women who I can't imagine learning next to anybody else, that I would be the same person that I feel like I am now. Sorry, a little emotional. It's a lot of work, doing this just as a student in general, but also being a mom. And, I started college when I was 45, so I'm 49 now, and I'll be graduating in May, and that's the first time going to school for me. So it's been a lot of work. So this was really nice to receive this award because it kind of gave me a little bit of credit for all the work that I've done. So thank you to that, and listening to the other women who've shared their stories of the work that they're already doing. It just makes me excited to get out there into the field. And I know it'll be a very hard job, and there's a lot of stresses and stuff that come with it, but it's the passion that I hear in their stories that is the same passion that I feel that I have and the other students that I've had the pleasure of learning alongside. We all share a passion to just get out there and do the work. And thankfully, we all have different passions because there's a lot of work out there that is needed for us to all advocate for. So it's just very special to me. So I just will end with one of my favorite quotes that I have found lately, and it's by Maya Angelou. And it's, "We delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit to the changes it has gone through to achieve that beauty." And I just think that is something that, that sounds like all of these women so far have all accomplished. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Congratulations, Angela.
That is beautiful, Angela.
Very, very well deserved. Thank you. You got us
Angela,
very
yeah,
emotional.
let me-
So I just want to
I know.
pause right there for a second. But yeah, very proud of you, Angela.
And I just want to say, Angela, and to everyone in the audience, like, I love that we're lifting up all the people who've been inspiring to us, and just know that you are now inspiring all sorts of other people in this space. And people are commenting in the chat, like, you are already an inspiration, and we're thrilled that you are joining our profession, Angela.
Absolutely.
Angelo, if you would go ahead and introduce our MSW Student of the Year. And folks, this is our last award we are giving out today. So
Yeah.
welcome to our final awardee.
Yes. So Bylan Arup is a graduate student at the University of Minnesota. She is an outstanding student representative with an infectious, enthusiastic spirit. Bylan is passionate about making real change in her community and bridging people together despite their differences. Bylan's strengths are many, and one that has a keen relevance to the values and mission of social work is her demonstrated concern for client advocacy, ethical treatment, social justice, and advancing mental health and substance use care for our most vulnerable and marginalized citizens, specifically older adults. especially those within the Somali community. He took social action by creating a visiting program for nursing homes to combat loneliness, create a sense of community, and to empower elders with mental illness and disabilities. In every regard, Byron is worthy of the MSW Student of the Year Award. Please give a round of applause for Byron Arab.
Byron, do you want to share a few words with us? Sounds like you're quite the inspiration already.
Thank you all for being here and supporting all our nominees. I'm honored to be among these amazing leaders, and I'm really grateful to be in the community of people who have inspired me, who have helped shape my thinking, and who have helped me realize that our profession is truly the one to make a difference. Thanks to my professors at the University of Minnesota, special thanks to Dr. Blakey, Suzanne, Julie, Priscilla, Jill, and MJ for always supporting me. And to all my colleagues at Navigate, Arlie, Max, Laniel, thank you. And special thanks to my amazing supervisor, Melissa Doho, for believing in me and encouraging me and showing me that I could be the best therapist as long as I believe in myself and continue to make the changes that I need to make. And thanks to Director of Samrado, Mokhtar Dahir, for giving me the opportunity to volunteer with the organization. It's an organization that stands for the most vulnerable children who are orphans with special needs in the Horn of Africa. I am proud to be a part of an organization that's making a difference. And thanks to my family and friends for always supporting me. Special thanks to my best friend, my sister, my right hand, Hani Mohammed, for believing in me and showing me that there is nothing impossible for me to achieve. Last but not least, I would like to thank my mom for her unconditional support and love and showing up for me and believing in me. In 2017, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and my mom was the best person, the person who was by my side, believing in me when I doubted myself and showing me that there was nothing impossible and that I was able to achieve the odds. Thank you, Mom. I love you so much, Hoyo. Without you, I wouldn't be here today. Thank you for giving me another chance at life. Thank you all.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Dylan, thank you so much for
Thank
all
you.
of your contributions already and just for those beautiful remarks. I do think it is so powerful when we take moments and thank people in our lives who make a difference for us. I want to share with you all a few of the other awards that we gave out just last week. So let me turn to our Policymakers of the Year and our Paul and Sheila Wellstone Awards for Social Justice. So last week at Social Work Day at the Capitol in person, we awarded from the podium these 3 awards, and not all of our policymakers were able to be with us, but we think that is, the most beautiful place for these people to receive their award, where they are most impactful in doing the work. But we would be remiss if we didn't share with all of you who these awesome folks were. So we're not going to share all of their bios, but I want to make sure that you know who we've given these awards to this year. Our first is our Policymaker of the Year Award, Representative Cedric Frazier from House District 43A. And our Policymakers of the Year are people who have shown dedication to supporting individuals and communities through advocacy for or creation of policies that support social workers and the clients they serve. And we'll make sure to put their whole bio and description of why they received these awards onto our social media, so check them out there. But I just want to lift up once again one of our Policymakers of the Year, Representative Cedric Frazier. And our second award was given to Policymaker of the Year, Representative Peter Fisher. For similar reasons, but doing completely different things, we have Representative from District 44A, who's also doing some fantastic work on behalf of social workers and those that we serve. And the third award we gave away last week was the Paul and Sheila Wellstone Award for Social Justice. And this award went to Munir Vaughn, Esquire, and someone who, this award is given in memory of Paul and Sheila Wellstone, who perished in a plane crash in October 2002. The individual has made a specific outstanding contribution to promote and advance social justice for marginalized populations and has personally represented ethics compatible with the NASW Code of Ethics. So some brilliant policy-related folks that we wanted to lift up in our work this year. Angela, do you have any closing thoughts on those awards that you gave out last week?
No, I'd just like to Well, guess I lied. I do.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'd just like to say congratulations to those recipients as well. And thank you for embodying and continuing to represent the values and principles of this profession. Even if they are non-traditional social workers, you know, we're talking about attorneys and politicians here, but they really do go out into the world and represent our values. And so well deserved. Congratulations again to them.
Thanks, Angelo. Okay, with that, I want to spend a little bit of time talking more about breaking barriers and how each of us can be working on celebrating Social Work Month. So first, let's talk about breaking barriers. So I told you in the beginning that I'd love to hear from some of you here today. How are you or others around you breaking barriers right now with your social work career? And I'd encourage you to put some thoughts into the chat, share with people, even just the briefest statement about what are you doing individually to break some barriers. The other thing I want you to be thinking about is, what do you wish the public knew about your work? What is it about your social work practice that you wish that the rest of the world knew or understood about what you're trying to accomplish in this world? So I'm going to give you all just a moment to think about that a little bit. Thanks, Angelo. Angelo talks about advocating for equitable policies. How about others? What are you doing to break barriers? Raising funds to aid people who need assistance related to immigration, lawyers, fees, bail, etc. Absolutely. I want to share a couple that came in from some of our board members. They talked about their organization offering social justice and advocacy-based services in the area of mental health, substance abuse treatment, parenting, and digital navigation, and training new social workers from a decolonized lens and emphasizing the systemic advocacy that needs to be done in our work. Another talked about access and flexibility and intention toward equity with BIPOC students. And this is a faculty member who talked about creating and ensuring a wide range of opportunities and internships for BSW and MSW students. Ooh, now they're coming in. I love it. Thanks, folks. Someone's talking about pushing their organization to provide paid MSW internships, right? Folks, put your money where your mouth is on this thing. If you can advocate for it in your organization, NASW Minnesota absolutely pays all of our interns, and we'll encourage everyone to do paid internships. We also, if you missed last week at the Capitol, we have a bill that is currently in draft form to support paid internships for social workers. Someone's talking about developing a scholarship for underrepresented social workers to become licensing supervisors with free supervision training. I love it. I love it. Others of our board members talked about breaking barriers by helping reduce the stigma of mental health in their community and joining advocacy groups where that is their main focus. So figuring out, like, what is the thing that you want to change in the world and how do you get there? And maybe it's through your work, and maybe it's through some other groups that you are joining and being a part of, deciding where your money goes, where you put your time and your effort and in your volunteer work as well. Some talked about advocating for changes to the licensing process and examination and some of the work that they're doing at NASW as well. One of you is talking about how important it is to have healthy organizations in order to be effective with clients and students and programming. Oh, I love that. Remember, folks, self-care is in our code of ethics now. It was written in, the actual words self-care were written into our code of ethics last summer. And as part of that, we also added the call that it's not just on each of us as social workers to tend to our self-care, but it's also the responsibility of our organizations to support us in that. So part of how we support each other in doing barrier breaking work is ensuring that social workers in our midst, our colleagues, our staff, those that we're working with in community can tend to their own self-care also. I love it, showing up in these spaces because representation is important. Someone else talked about focusing on diversity in the aging and geriatric population, LGBTQIA, to S+ community, ethnic minorities, marginalized communities, disabled communities, working on institutional racism in healthcare, developing plans to address lack of cultural competency in retirement communities, assisted living, hospice. Man, there is work to be done, folks. Empowering students and colleagues to run for office. Yes, absolutely. If you haven't been asked lately, folks, I'm asking every one of you to consider running for office. I'm going to say that one more time. Every single one of you in this room needs to think about running for office. What office fits? Where could you contribute? Let's talk about it. Reach out to me if you want some support in that effort. Someone talked about reforming in the criminal justice system, where I find the word justice does not belong, and there's no system in a system that was built on racism and the continuation of slavery through involuntary servitude. Whoo, there are a few bills and legislation currently that are asking for our state constitution to remove these legal forms of slavery. That is some powerful work, folks. So I encourage you to continue to share your thoughts. If some things are coming to you as you're hearing ideas from others, there are some beautiful examples out there in all of your everyday work and how you are breaking barriers. And it is so important that you lift each other up, lift up these stories, make sure the world knows what we're trying to accomplish. I also want us to spend just a few minutes talking about what are you doing to celebrate Social Work Month? How are you celebrating Social Work Month and all that you're doing to continue to break barriers? I know that many of you came here today to celebrate other colleagues, to ensure that your colleagues knew they were supported and loved and appreciated for all that they do. I encourage many of you to think about what are other ways that you can celebrate. I was with our group from St. Cloud last night doing a little Social Work Month presentation, and they were talking about getting together next week at our networking events across the state and having a moment to just be in community with other social workers. So I encourage you all next Tuesday night to join one of our networking events across the state. Check out our website. If you don't receive information about it, make sure you know we're all over the state in 9 different locations on the same day. Those are free events, great ways to celebrate with each other. I want to give you a couple other ideas of ways that you can celebrate Social Work Month. One is, one way we can all break barriers for our profession is to tell the world about what social workers do. And we can be really hard to understand as a profession because we are so diverse, because we do work in so many different places and we do all kinds of different work. And it's hard for the world, even sometimes our family members and friends, to understand what we do. They might understand what you do, but not what the rest of social work does. The NASW-MN our foundation worked with Ipsos to conduct a survey of public opinion about social workers recently. And it was a nationally representative probability sample of 1,016 adults, 18 and over. And it told us a bunch of things that, we sort of knew were true, but reminds us of that truth. It also aligns with some of the data I found in a study I did at the state fair several years ago now with some of my colleagues from the University of Minnesota. But this national sample found that 80% of Americans have a favorable opinion of social workers. And 81% of them who interacted with social workers said that those social workers improved their situation or the situation of a spouse, child, sibling, or parent. About slightly more than half thought that social workers should be paid more than this BLS reported median salary that they were sharing, which was $50,390 a year. So about half said we should absolutely be paid more than that median salary. So we have work to do in talking about what we're worth, how we come to this profession when we think about our degrees. Some of us have bachelor's degrees. 80% of us in Minnesota have master's degrees. Many of us also have PhDs, right? So understanding what does that mean? What do we bring to the work? What are our contributions? And what should we be paid in exchange for that? Few Americans also know that social workers can work in potentially dangerous settings, but about 84% of them would support Congress passing legislation that NASW has been working on to provide agencies where social workers work with grants to help improve safety. And we at the Minnesota chapter have also been working on a bill in Minnesota to support safety of social workers in our workplaces as well. And let's see, man, it's so interesting to me that many Americans, 86%, are aware that social workers work in social services and child welfare. So most people know that those are things we do. Generally, social services, child welfare, county sorts of settings in our Minnesota frame. But only 65% knew that social workers practice in mental health or private practice and substance abuse, behavioral health kinds of settings. So we have some work to do in making sure that the public knows what else social workers are doing. Many are unaware that we work in all sorts of other settings. For instance, only 46% knew that social workers do advocacy and community organization work. 45% knew that social workers played a key role in hospice care, and only 30% knew that social workers were involved in financial benefits or other sorts of supports for folks. So we have work to do. So one thing you could do in Social Work Month is share some of these results of the public opinion survey. You could also think about writing a letter to the editor. And when I send out these slides, there'll be a link here to a sample letter to the editor that our national office puts together for Social Work Month. And I would love to see those come out across the state in all sorts of different local and regional newspapers, and let people know what social workers do and the impact that they have in your area. I also encourage you to sport your social workness in the world. You might wear some gear, folks. You might have something like this awesome water bottle that I carry around with me that we had from NASW Minnesota a few years ago. They say proud to be a social worker. So maybe there's something that you can make sure that you have on your body, or a sticker on your laptop, or some other thing that sports your social workness. But the other thing you can do is when people introduce themselves to you, you can name first that you are a social worker. So instead of saying, hi, I'm Karen Goodenough, Executive Director at NASW, I start with, hi, I'm Karen Goodenough. I am a social worker. I'm a macro practice social worker, and I am Executive Director at NASW Minnesota. That matters, folks. And that is how we spread the word about the breadth and depth of the work that we are doing every day. And so many people respond like, I didn't know social workers did that kind of thing, right? Like it opens up a conversation with folks. So think about that. Think about what your business card says. Does it say your credentials? Do people that know you know what those mean? And make sure that you're sporting those out in the world. There's actually an entire social media toolkit on NASW National's website for Social Work Month. We do this every year. Here are some hashtags you can use if you're a social media sort of person. I also will just put up here for folks, and I'm gonna, as I said, I will send these slides out to everyone who registered today, give you some examples of some Facebook and Twitter posts you might put out through Social Work Month to help celebrate. It's just some ideas if you're like me and not so social media-esque. You might need a little help figuring out, like, how do I say these things? What are the kinds of things I could say? So here's some Facebook and Twitter posts. Here's a sample Instagram post and some hints for what works well in Instagram posts. And then there's also some thoughts about LinkedIn and using that platform well just on behalf of the profession during Social Work Month. In just a few minutes, I want to share with folks some of the things that NASW Minnesota is doing to break barriers right now in our state. When you receive these slides, you'll have each of these that are underlined are links to read some more about those particular projects in Minnesota. There's just so many ways that our chapter is working to break barriers for social workers and for the clients that we serve. And some that you may or may not know about, I just want to lift up some of the work that our chapter is doing. So one is our Diverse Workforce Initiative. So this was some grant funding that we sought out and received $400,000 over a 4-year period to support BIPOC social workers in joining our field and becoming licensed in particular. And we have just opened up 2 cohorts of folks that are people who are BIPOC folks who are interested or currently working with children and families. And if that sounds like you or someone you know, I encourage you to go to our website, look for that information on our Diverse Workforce Initiative. Those cohorts are currently open for applicants. It is a very simple application process, and it will likely be some sort of a random process because we are getting many more applicants than we have spots for. Not surprising, but also really exciting also. So we will be, through that grant, we will be paying all of the costs to get people to and through licensure. So for students, it includes all of their licensure and exam fees being paid. a paid internship, so they will get a stipend for their internship for their final year of school, whether it's BSW or MSW. If they would like a BIPOC supervisor for their internship and one is not available, we will provide them one that is paid to be their supervisor. They'll also get all of their supervision hours paid once they graduate. And for the folks who are in the professional cohort, it's all of those things without the paid internship because they're already done with that. So if you're interested in that or want to know more, this is the work of our Racial Justice Committee at NASW that put together our diversity plan. And this sort of work was part of it. And when an opportunity arose, we took the opportunity to grow this work. The next I just want to lift up is our work on the Interstate Licensure Compact. This is a really important piece of work that our chapter has been very involved in, and NASW has been nationally. Many of you probably are aware of it now. Maybe last week you spent some time in our diverse workforce session prepping for Advocacy Week. So if you want to learn more, I can send you some information about this one. But basically, the Interstate Compact for Social Work Licensure was finalized last week. I was on the writing team for it for the last year and a half, and it was a big lift for our profession to decide how do we come together and license people in ways that will work for folks to do interstate work across state lines. So our compact will allow folks who live in states where the compact is passed, so it has to be passed in each of our legislatures, to apply to be a member of or to have an interstate compact license. And basically any state that has passed the compact, you will be able to practice in without having to hold individual licenses in each of these states. So we believe this is really important barrier breaking work for people in terms of licensure fees. You will only have to pay the fees in your home state. You will only have to meet the supervision requirements in your home state, as well as CE requirements in your home state. It is a beautiful way to allow people to practice across state lines. So the most important thing on this one is that we need to get it passed in as many states as possible for it to actually be viable for any of us and be of use. In Minnesota, it will likely not pass for another year or two. And I will keep you all updated as things progress. But basically, 7 states have to pass it in order for the Compact Commission to get started and write rules and set up the data system for it. And that will decide what the fees are. We in Minnesota have to wait until we know what those fees are before we can pass it in our state because of the way licensure is regulated in our state. Again, if you want more information on that, reach out to me. And anyone who's an NASW member, you've been hearing about this in our newsletters along the way, and I'll keep you up to date as well. We're also working as a chapter really strongly on alternate pathways to licensure. Many of you heard about the ASWB exam data that came out last summer indicating that people of color, people who are non-English speaking as their first language, and anyone over the age of 55 are often struggling to pass those licensure exams. And we believe that they are a barrier that we need to break as a profession. So I just got out of a meeting this morning with our Coalition of Licensed Social Workers in Minnesota, which is actually almost all of our social work associations in Minnesota. And we are working together to align our sort of stance on alternate pathways to licensure and advocate to our Board of Social Work and change our laws in Minnesota to work around the exam as a barrier. We also have a really robust legislative agenda. We have grown our lobbyist time at NASW Minnesota. And if you were part of Advocacy Week last week, you know that work has grown exponentially. All of the sessions that we provided last week to bring social workers up to speed on the issues that are moving through the legislature were recorded, and those sessions are provided to all of you for free and will be available through March. If you'd like to watch them and you missed anything last week, you can reach out to me and I can send you that link. I'll just send it out to everyone who registered for today's session so you have it. But there were 7 sessions that we did last week that were recorded. You can watch them and count them as free independent study CEs and get up to speed on a bunch of the policy things we've been working on. Thanks to Sarah Bush, I see on my screen right now, for all the work that SPAN did to pull that week together. It was really awesome. We also keep policy updates on our website. So that link will take you to the policy updates that anyone can see. And just a note that all of our members have access to an advocacy page on our website that keeps you up to date on all sorts of issues and action alerts and things. So if you're a member and you haven't checked that out, please make sure to look at our advocacy page. We also, as a chapter, work really hard to provide free and low-cost CEUs and to meet social workers where they're at with what they need. This year, we provided for our first ever Camp NASW Minnesota, which was a retreat for social workers last fall that we are planning to do again this fall. It was such a great success. Social workers loved it who attended camp, and we hope many of you will think about joining us for camp next fall as well. We are also always open to your ideas and what you're looking for. What you see on the screen now are a bunch of the benefits you get from NASW membership, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask you all to join us and make sure that you renew. NASW is the National Association of Social Workers. We are only as strong as people who are willing to pay their membership dues and ensure that our profession has a strong voice in our state as well as nationally. So this barrier breaking work, I believe we cannot do alone. We do it better together in community with one another. We are powerful as an association, and I hope that every social worker in our state will join us, and that will strengthen our voice in Minnesota. I encourage you to follow us on all of the things, and I want to put up for you my contact information. If you have any questions, I have not been watching the chat, but if anyone has specific questions, I will hang around for a moment and answer those. And I just want to say a final appreciation to every social worker who's in this room for all you do. Happy Social Work Month to you. Thank you for everything you do to break barriers, both for our profession and for the clients you serve and our communities in Minnesota. We are a powerful force in our state, folks, and I appreciate each and every one of you. With that, happy Social Work Month. And I wish you all a fantastic March. I hope you'll do something to celebrate Social Work Month and lift up other social workers in our midst. Thank you to all of our awardees, and a final shout out to all of our awardees. Thank you for everything you do. Think about nominating someone next year who's doing amazing work. Have a fantastic day, everyone. Yeah, appreciate you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.